And away we go. Oh, I am so happy to be back with you. Thank you for inviting me. And of course, here's some of my information. My website is paulhasselbeck.com. My podcast is found at metaphysicalromp2.com. And my email is alberthasselbeck@gmail.com. And please feel free to reach out to me. I like hearing from people. You might want to get out your cell phone and take pictures of my slides. Sometimes people like to do that. And are you ready to romp? That's the question. I'm ready to romp. So, is it New Age or New Thought? This is such an interesting question. As I reflected on doing this presentation this week, I realized that some of the tension that used to occur between New Age and New Thought has somehow been normalized. When I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s of the last millennium, there was sometimes some controversy going around the two. But the thing is that some of the things that New Age talks about has become more normalized in our society. Even so, I think it's important to do this little romp. So we're going to be looking at New Age, New Thought, Unity, A Course in Miracles, and Abraham. So New Age is like this big old buffet. It's a big old catch term. It's like if you say the word meditation, it'll mean something different to every person who hears it. There are so many kinds of meditation. Well, New Age is one of these catch-all categories that we put things in. And the interesting thing for us to remember is that Charles Fillmore said, we have to develop in ourselves this capacity to know ourselves. Another can suggest things, but we have to take the suggestions and apply it to our own understanding. So whenever I present anything, whenever you read a historic text from Unity, it's about you taking that information into your own understanding. And it's not about force feeding or you have to believe this or you have to believe that. It's about not checking our intellect at the door, but bringing our intellect into the conversation. Charles Fillmore said in a pamphlet called Pure Reason and Honest Logic, practical Christianity has no dogmas nor creeds, nor are its students expected to believe anything which they cannot logically demonstrate to be true. And Charles really harped on this a lot over time. The idea that we take these truths that we're being taught, but then we just don't leave them in intellect. We have to dig into them and demonstrate them to be true for ourselves, to embody them, to enliven them. So let's start by looking at New Age, which is a really inclusive term for lots of things. Its origins were in the age of Aquarius, which people talked about at the end of the last millennium. The truth is, if you look it up in science, we are right smack dab in the age of Aquarius. It tends to be inclusive and diverse. It ranges from astrology to tarot cards, crystals to divination, and Eastern to Western metaphysics. So you can see how this is one gigantic basket full of really interesting things people can explore and try for themselves. Now, New Thought and Unity is thought to be a subset of New Age. In fact, there are people who don't even like Unity to be included in that New Age category, but it's pretty obvious it belongs there. And of course, the origin of Unity was in the late 1800s. There were lots of people espousing some of these ideas. And in terms of today, we have religious science, divine science, and Unity as somewhat major organizations. And then there are lots of independent New Thought metaphysical churches. And the really one interesting thing that I find about New Thought is that New Thought did not divorce itself from science, like much of religion has done over the ages. And so it's inclusive of science. And this is why we have names like religious science and divine science. This is why we talk about God as principle or God as law, to be inclusive of these ideas that were emerging in the late 1800s and 1900s around science. So some of the similarities you already know, and that is there's one power and one presence, this monism, this monotheism, however you want to put it, that there's this inner divinity within us, the power of positive thinking and the power of thought and personal power, and of course, the power of prayer. And the one thing that's common to all of them is this thing of law of attraction, but how it's understood differs. So, New Age and Unity. Well, in New Age and in Unity, we find people talking about the universe, also known as God, and the cosmic 2x4. So what we find in Unity and we find in New Age is somehow this idea that there's a God, there's a universe that's trying to get our attention. And when something bad happens, we used to, and I don't hear it as much today, speak of the cosmic 2x4, that the universe is trying to get our attention so we can learn something, so we can grow somehow. But doesn't that harken back to the God of our childhood, that it seems more like punishment rather than a help? And if God loves us or loved us, why would it do that to us? So when I think of the cosmic 2x4, I think of I'm the one that's holding the 2x4, and I'm the one that's getting my own attention so I can learn something. And not that we're intentionally causing bad things to happen in our lives. As we live our life, stuff happens, doesn't it? And one of the distinctions between New Age and Unity is how New Age perceives negative events. You'll often hear people say that they're going for something, they want to do something. And then when they hit some sort of obstacle, some negative event, they say, oh, God doesn't want this for me. Oh, there's something wrong with what I'm doing. And so they stop. Unity takes a different twist on this, is that when negative events happen, when bad things happen, it's chemicalization that's going on. We're stirring stuff up in us that's oppositional to the new ideas, the new truths we're taking in. And it's a natural process. And as we're adding these new ideas, these new beliefs to our belief system, it stirs up all the beliefs, all the thoughts, all the ideas in opposition to those. And we can have negative events by maybe feeling badly, not sleeping well, sleeping too much. Any kind of bodily upset can be a chemicalization. And what distinguishes it is that they're usually short term, not long lasting. And hear this now, the chemicalization is evidence you're doing something right. We're a New Age. When negative events happen, it was evidence we were doing something wrong and we should stop. So when chemicalization is happening in a New Thought Unity context, when we're getting stirred up, that's evidence that those new truths are being rooted within us. And they're starting to grow, they're starting to take hold. And so when that chemicalization happens, it's evidence we're doing the right thing and we should keep moving in the same direction. We shouldn't stop what we're doing. I don't know about you, but that was really a freeing concept for me to learn. And then we heard in New Age a lot, it is what it is, and then we would shut up. It was almost said as oh, well, it is what it is. What can I do about it? I'm stuck, whatever it is that a person was talking about. But New Thought and Unity takes it a step further. The it is what it is a logical acknowledgement of what is and present right now. The next step, though, is using our consciousness, using our thoughts and feelings to name it, to call it something. This is where we get the idea from Myrtle Fillmore. Count it all good. Call it all good. That's not saying the what is good. It's setting a mindset, a positive, supportive mindset, so that we use whatever it is for good, or we use whatever it is to bring forth a blessing. Because we have this creative power to transform situations from negative to positive, from something not supportive to something very supportive. And it's all founded on this idea of calling it good, naming it good, asking yourself, how can I use even this for good? And then working that through. So A Course in Miracles, I would assume there's a few people in your congregations that study A Course in Miracles. Over time, even having Course in Miracles group in our Unity churches has become very normalized. And you can see it in many churches. In the beginning, there was a lot of upset. In the beginning, Course in Miracles was banned in its own way from Unity World headquarters, but we've grown around this. And my foundational beginning in New Thought is A Course in Miracles. Yes, you heard me right. I put Course in Miracles in that same New Thought basket as religious science, divine science, and unity. And of course, Course in Miracles is famously understood to be channeled by Helen Schucman. And here are some very high-level similarities between A Course in Miracles and Unity. The historic writings of Unity and Course in Miracles use Christian terminology. They both use male-centric language. Both use dualistic language to explain a non-dualistic reality. And both use affirmations and denials. And while these things can often be a help to introducing someone into A Course in Miracles or into Unity, they also can be blocks. A lot of people today get stuck in Christian terminology. A lot of people get stuck in male-centric language. And isn't it good that we've moved on from this language that is based on males, basically? And this idea of a dualistic language to explain a non-dualistic reality can be troublesome for some people. And this is why I've started creating some years ago what I call the language of oneness. And that's the language I use to write all of my books. And of course, if you're familiar with A Course in Miracles, the entire workbook is just full of affirmations and denials. So you can see that similarity in both the structure and the major tool. So let's look at the 5 principles. In Unity, we hear God is absolute good, everywhere present. And that's comes from Keys to the Kingdom by Connie Fillmore. And A Course in Miracles, God is all in a very literal sense. All being is in him who is all being. And doesn't that male language jump out to you? It does to me. So second principle is human beings have a spark of divinity in them, the Christ spirit within. The very essence is of God, and therefore they are inherently good. Now, here's the thing. If you read Charles Fillmore carefully, Charles talks about the I am, that the I am is a synonym for God or the synonym for the divine, and that it cannot be cut into pieces. So to say we have a spark of divinity within us lessens the magnitude of our divinity, which is innate and inherent. Our divinity isn't inherited from a Papa God. It's our innate, capital R, reality. Course in Miracles says a similar thing. Deep in your mind, the Holy Christ in you is waiting your acknowledge as you. Whoops, sorry. Acknowledgement as you. So Course in Miracles is talking about a process here. We have the Christ within us, which is another synonym for God, folks. It's another synonym for your divinity and my divinity. But we have to become aware of it. We have to acknowledge it. And then we have to start using it in very productive and conscious ways. Whatever thoughts you accept into your mind has reality for you. It is your acceptance of it that makes it real. All thinking produces form at some level. So this is basically third principle stuff. And today, we just don't keep to thinking. It's a process of thinking, feeling. It's a process of having an emotional content. And it's important that we remember that, even though we sing songs that thoughts are things. In Unity, we say human beings create their experiences by the activity of their thinking. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought, and I would say thought and feeling, but the activity of our thinking. Now, for me, I divide up experiences, which is my inner experience, from outer things, which are events. So in my structure of knowing, we have events happening in our lives that we experience, which is an internal process and involves the interplay of our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, images, feelings, emotions, experiences, attitudes, all of that. And yes, it's our thinking, feeling nature that is the beginning of all manifestation, all demonstration. Prayer is creative thinking that heightens the connection with God mind and therefore brings forth wisdom, healing, prosperity, and everything good. That language lends itself to separation. When we use the word connection, isn't disconnection implied? So today I think of prayer as a way in which I synchronize my humanity with my divinity. I'll say that again. Prayer is a process by which I synchronize my humanity with my divinity. And those are not separate things. They are coexisting aspects of ourselves. In A Course in Miracles, we can read in the Song of Prayer, true prayer must avoid the pitfall of asking to entreat. Ask rather to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. And so there you have a language that you're given something, but it's already there. So the truth is, those divine ideas and principles, whatever the divine is inherent within you and me. And it's up to us to discover those principles and laws so we can use them more consciously. And then finally, knowing and understanding the laws of life, also known and called truth, are not enough. A person must live the truth that he or she knows. Today we can say also live the truth that they know and avoid those pronouns. And in Course in Miracles, we have a theoretical foundation such as the text provides is necessary, yet it is doing the exercises that will make the goal of the course possible. So this now moves us beyond thinking and feeling and adding action. Action is really, really important. I could sit here and think about dark chocolate for the rest of the day, but if I don't get up and grab the dark chocolate, I'm not going to be enjoying it. So there's thoughts and feelings and action that are part of the demonstration, manifestation process. So I want to talk just a minute about a couple distinctions. The ego, if you're a student of the Course in Miracles, the ego is talked about in very negative terms in the vast majority of the book. And it's about getting rid of the ego, about nullifying the ego. Even I can think of like killing off the ego. Well, that's not exactly what Charles Fillmore believed about the ego. And he used the word personality as a synonym for the ego. And so while Charles talked about adverse aspects of our ego, he did not count it all as bad. And in fact, in my opinion, we need our personalities as human beings to exist here on this physical plane, what some people call skin school. So it's not about getting rid of the ego. It's about learning about our ego and personality and putting it into service to our innate divinity. And around the body and healing, we have some distinctions as well. And this, in so many religions, it's about getting rid of the body. It's about getting rid of the personality. I just don't think that's healthy today. I think we have to embrace our humanity. After all, in Unity, we talk about having this threefold nature, that we're spirit, mind, and body. We often talk about mind a lot and spirit a lot, and we kind of ignore the body until it gets sick. And again, there's this underlying idea that we're to escape our personalities or ego and escape our bodies to go live someplace else. What does that do for us in subtle ways right here? In some ways, that communicates to us that being human is bad. Having a body is bad. Having an ego is bad. Can we agree to let that go? Can we embrace our humanity in its fullness while we realize our divinity in its fullness? We are 100% divine. We are 100% human. In my humanity, I don't ever express the full extent of my humanity, nor do we ever express the full extent of our divinity. But that doesn't mean that we're not fully human or fully divine. And let's embrace our bodies. And then around healing, there's a little minor distinction, and that is the Course in Miracles is all about aligning yourself with your Christ nature, and the healing comes as a side effect. In Unity, it's more about dealing directly with the principles and laws that we use and claim to heal the body. And I want to say one more thing, that when we talk about A Course in Miracles, that miracle is a shift in perception. And the closest word to that shift in perception in Unity writings is the word forgiveness. After all, in Unity, forgiveness is a letting go of our misperceptions and realizing that the other person is as divine as you and I. So in Unity, forgiveness is a change in perception. And of course, in Miracles, a change in perception is called a miracle. And that brings us to the other thing that we find a lot today, and that's this Abraham Hicks things that are channeled by Esther Hicks, where Abraham is not a single entity. It's a group of obviously evolved non-physical teachers, And it's said to include Jesus. And they talk about this thing called the vortex, where we can align with our source energy. Well, the idea of aligning with source energy, I would say, is similar to aligning with my innate divinity. And here are some of the teachings. You are a physical extension of that which is non-physical. Well, we could go with that. You are here in this body because you chose to be here. That's a common belief. I don't know if that's true or not, but now that we're here, let's make the best of it, right? Abraham teaches the basis of your life is freedom and the purpose of your life is joy. Joy is their highest emotion. You are a creator. You create with every thought. I teach that. I am a creator. You are a creator. You create with your thoughts and feelings, followed by actions. Just thinking and feeling something isn't necessarily going to cause it to happen. Anything that you can imagine is yours to be or do or have, I'll agree with that in consciousness. But as a 5'9" male, I can imagine myself playing in the Super Bowl or playing football at that level, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. So we have to be realistic about these teachings. And they say, as you're choosing your thoughts, your emotions are guiding you. And I would say, as we're choosing our thoughts, use our emotions to guide us. In the teachings of Abraham, we find the universe adores you, for it knows your broadest intentions. I don't know that the universe adores me, but I'll take it, right? It's a lovely thought. Relax into your natural well-being. All is well. And that connects really well to one of the things I say a lot, if you've been around me, ease and grace. Ease and grace. And then the 9th one, you are a creator of thought ways on your unique path of joy. That just affirms we're creators. 10, actions to be taken and possessions to be exchanged are byproducts of your focus on joy. You may appropriately depart your body without illness or pain. You cannot die. You are everlasting life. Well, we have that belief in unity as well. So the linchpin of these teachings is the law of attraction. And it's the name given to the belief that like attracts like. And that by focusing on positive or negative thoughts, you can bring about positive or negative results. Well, I would say that's definitely true in consciousness. In fact, the Fillmores named the law of mind action the law of attraction, because that's actually what works in mind. What this ignores is, yes, like attracts like, but opposites attract too, don't they? Sometimes they talk about our consciousness being a mighty magnet, but a magnet doesn't work like the like. In fact, like the like repels. Magnets are opposites. And so these simple sayings, I think, could be useful memes, but maybe they get in the way of what's really happening. Louise Hay said, our thinking creates and brings to us whatever we think about. Paul Hasselbeck says that our thinking and feeling motivates me to attain whatever I'm thinking about, which that takes action. There is really no passive component to this that is implied here. So let's look at just a couple more things. Thoughts held in mind. So the law of mind action says thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. The way we say it today, thoughts held in mind with feeling produce more thoughts and feelings of the same kind. But they do not produce anything in the outer realm unless we take action. If merely thinking and feeling something, we'd all be multi-millionaires. We all would have already won the lottery. So these laws don't work the way they're commonly done. So let's look just a couple examples. So this teenager is really about a story where there's a New Thought minister, and he's giving a really powerful talk on Sunday morning about the law of mind action, that when we become that which we think. And he's going on, he's getting all riled up, excited about this. And he sees in the second row this young man who begins to squirm every time the minister emphasizes this. And the young man gets more and more agitated. And so at the end of the service, the minister seeks out this young man. His name was Johnny. He says, Johnny, when I was giving my lecture, I saw you were getting more and more agitated. He said, Pastor, I don't want to be a girl. All I think and feel about is girls these days. And I think that's just a wonderful example of how we can exaggerate some of these teachings. I want to talk about yellow Volkswagens. So what I mean by this is the moment I start to think and desire, I want a yellow Volkswagen, I start shaping my consciousness to a bias of looking for yellow Volkswagens. So as soon as I want a yellow Volkswagen, when I drive around in my old beat up car, what do I see? I see more yellow Volkswagens. God didn't put more yellow Volkswagens on the road for me to see. It's that I can now see them based on my desire. And I can think and feel about having a yellow Volkswagen until the cows come in. And if I don't do something, go to a car dealership, look at ads, whatever it is, I'm never going to own that yellow Volkswagen. Now, every once in a while, something curious happens. You may mention to a friend, I want a yellow Volkswagen, and he happens to have a yellow Volkswagen, and he gives it to you. But you notice you took an action? You told him that you wanted a yellow Volkswagen. And finally, if it were really true that what we think and feel is what we manifest, what do we do with the life of Jesus? If we believe he was the advanced being that it's reported in the scriptures, and he was loving and kind, then how does that fit the model of him being crucified? It makes no sense. Because if like attracts like, that means there had to be a crucifier in Jesus. And friends, I don't believe that. So remember, we have to develop in ourselves this capacity to know for ourselves. Another can suggest things, but we have to take the suggestions and apply it to our own understanding. And so, friends, when you see something, is it new age or is it new thought? What's more important is how are you going to learn? How are you going to apply what you know? Is it just your thinking that manifests? Do you need your thoughts and feelings? And after all, don't you have to take action? Thank you for listening. And so now we will move into our time of meditation. Let's just take a deep breath. I think I have to move a little bit. Do you? Yeah. Maybe put our feet flat on the floor. And just feel the joy right here and now. Feel the gratitude right here and now. Think of one thing you heard today, not necessarily from my lesson, but maybe from the affirmations. Feel gratitude for this opportunity. And down deep, really deep, realize I am fully divine and fully human. And how could it be any other way? Eric Butterworth said, God is spirit, present in its entirety at every point in space at the same time. So the entirety of the divine is right there at the point of view, fully available, fully accessible. And yet we have to claim it and acknowledge it to bring it into fruition in a more conscious way. And isn't that what transformation is about? Is consciously growing ourselves a little better each day. So feel the truth of that. And repeat after me. I am fully divine. I am fully human. I joyously synchronize my humanity with my divinity. As I move forth in gratitude, ease, and grace. And so it is.